Hey there everyone, welcome to the Herbal Moon Goddess podcast. My name's Kyra and today's episode is really directed for you if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, or maybe you're thinking about launching your own business or project out into the world. I hope that this episode is going to help you because I'm talking about how to use the moon to guide your launches. So I'm going to be talking shortly about exactly what is a launch, but basically, I'm explaining how you can use the moon in your business, how you can follow the lunar cycle each month to follow this like rinse and repeat method to manifest success with your business goals. So if that sounds exciting to you, make sure you keep listening. I also have a freebie for you to download, a workbook, which will guide you through the entire process as well. So if you want to jump ahead and download the workbook now, click the link in the show notes below to get your copy of the Lunar launch plan. So I've been working with the moon for years now, and as I started working with the moon, it wasn't long before I discovered how to use the moon in my business. Well, I guess, I was already kind of just naturally using it in my business, but I mean, I feel like a lot of people use the moon to just manifest the stuff that they want in their personal life, but they don't realize the potential that the moon can have with manifesting business goals and helping you to find direction, clarity, and success within your business. So I'm really excited to share this method with you because it's something that I use quite constantly to launch my own products, services, offerings, and I keep following this process to help me refine those ideas, to market them, and to tune into that cosmic energy to help me, I guess, when you're in tune with that cosmic energy, with the lunar cycle, with astrology, or whatever it might be, it really helps you create more flow, and what you're sharing is often better received by the audience because you're tuning into what everyone else is feeling. So this is why I feel like following the lunar cycle can be so effective as part of your business plan. So launches, let's have a quick chat about what a launch is so that we can clear up any confusion there. So when I'm talking about launches, I guess, typically businesses, online businesses might do launches anywhere from once a month, maybe up to about 4 times a year, depending on their own strategy, their services, their offerings, whatever that business is offering. For me personally, I find that I tend to do monthly sort of low-key launches, and then a few times a year I'll do a bigger launch where I'll spend quite a bit of time and energy on that launch. I think because I'm a Gemini as well and I have so many ideas, it's kind of as soon as I launch one thing, I'm onto the next idea and running with that and then launching that idea. So launches is pretty much just where you're offering something out into the world, something for people to buy. And that could be anything. It could be existing products or services that you offer, or it could even be new offerings that you're creating or that you're launching out into the world. So I do know that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs who have been doing this for a while, they tend to have a few main offerings, and each year they might spend a few months focusing on one offering, and then for the next quarter they'll spend that time and energy on another offering. And so they'll cycle through these different offerings throughout the year, and then they'll go back to that same process the year after and rinse and repeat that method, which is absolutely fine. Don't think that you have to, you launch something once and, you know, kind of flops, no one really buys it, or you maybe get like 1 or 2 sales from it, and then you kind of think, well, that was a failure, and you don't launch it again. I encourage you to try launching it a second time, or maybe even a third, a fourth time. Try launching it in different ways and marketing it different ways. There are so many different ways to launch products and services out there. But yeah, pretty much a launch is just where you're offering something out into the world and you're kind of, I guess, leading people up towards that sale. And so that you can expect to get quite a lot of sales within a short amount of time. So yeah, you're building a lot of hype for people to build something of yours. So that's pretty much what a launch is. So what I'm covering in this episode is how to use the moon to create a launch plan. So let's say, you know, you've got something that you want to launch, whether that's a physical product or it's maybe an online course or maybe your services. Maybe let's say you're a tarot reader and you always have tarot readings available to buy on your website. Like there's no kind of like, you know, the readings will no longer be offered after this certain date. Like, you know, it's just something that's always available there. But you can kind of make a launch for those readings and maybe market it in a special way. Perhaps, you know, 1 month you might be focusing on donating a certain percentage of your profits towards a charitable cause, or maybe there's a new style of reading that you might be offering. So you can absolutely like kind of offer the same thing, but do different launches throughout the year for the same thing, but marketing it in different ways. So let's talk about this lunar launch plan. So like I said, you can download, there's a 9-page workbook available for you in the show notes below, which guides you through the phases of the moon cycle and how to use that energy as part of your launch plan. So download that to work through this launch plan in your own time. I recommend that you work through this launch plan starting at the new moon, and as the moon changes the phase, so when it's the waxing crescent moon, move on to the next page. A few days later, when the moon is in the first quarter phase, go to the next stage, and so forth. And you work through that throughout the entire cycle. Or if you're kind of feeling really proactive and inspired, you could even sit down in a whole session and fill out this whole workbook in one go. And that way you've got your launch plan sorted, and then you're just referring back to it throughout the lunar cycle to check in with the action steps that you need to take during each phase of the moon. So there's 2 ways that you can use the book. There's no right or wrong way. Do whatever feels best for you. So I'm going to walk you through the steps now in the lunar launch plan. Yeah, like if you follow this plan and if you keep going through the cycle with it, you'll find so much flow in your business. Like I kind of feel like something that businesses fall in the trap of is that they need to sell all the time, but you know, kind of turns clients or potential clients and customers off when they're just being sold to all the time. Like, you know, people don't like to be sold to all the time. We want some, you know, some value, some free sort of value to that can help develop some rapport, some trust with the brand or business. So I find that the moon cycle, the lunar cycle launch plan can really help you nurture your audience rather than just selling all the time. So it starts off at the new moon. So on the new moon page in the lunar launch plan, you'll find a few little questions to guide you through the new moon energy. The new moon is the best time for coming up with new ideas. So this is the time where you often feel inspired about the new things that you want to create or launch for that lunar cycle that's beginning. So this is the perfect time of the lunar cycle where you come up with that new idea and you come up with that intention of exactly what it is that you're going to launch in that lunar cycle ahead. So, you know, often if you're like me, you may relate to this. I often sit down at the start of the year or maybe even midway through the year and I create like a massive plan, a rough plan of what I'm going to do in my business over like the next 6 months or 12 months or whatever. And then as time rolls on, sometimes those ideas start to maybe feel a bit stale, or they just don't seem right anymore because, you know, I've evolved, my business has evolved, whatever. So I do like this approach of every new moon just sitting down and you can check back on, you know, what you're intending to do for that month. But I find that when you tune into that moment and when you tune into the present and you really get to understand what it is that your heart is really wanting you to launch out into the world, or maybe there's been feedback that you've received from others lately that's encouraging you to launch something in particular out into the world. I find that, you know, that new moon energy helps you stay present and in the current flow. So start on that new idea at the new moon. You set those intentions and you come up with that new idea and inspiration to help you move forward throughout that lunar cycle. So after the new moon, we come to the waxing crescent moon. So in your lunar launch plan, you'll find a page there for the waxing crescent phase. And what you'll go through on this page is the steps that you need to take before you really take any action towards those intentions that you've just set at the new moon. The waxing crescent moon is a time for planning and researching and preparing. So this is where you might do whatever research that you need to do. Maybe there's things that you need to learn more about before you can launch your offering out into the world. Or maybe there's things that you need to plan for, things that you need to prepare. This is when you're really just figuring out what it is that you need to do to turn those intentions into a reality. So this planning stage is super important, and this really can help you have a successful launch. If you don't plan and if you just jump into it, then it's often not as well thought out as what you'd like it to be. So take this time during the waxing crescent phase to really nut out all those details of your launch. The next phase is the first quarter moon. So in the lunar launch plan, you'll find space there to figure out those exact action steps that you need to take and figure out what it is that you need to do now. What are the things that you actually need to make or do now to bring you closer to your goal? So we're jumping out of that planning and preparation stage and we're jumping into action. So the first quarter moon often can make us feel more energized so that we're more likely to go out there and do the scary stuff instead of hiding back in our comfort zones. So make sure when that first quarter moon rolls around that you're actually taking the action, because you know you can do all this planning and intention setting, but that alone isn't going to help you manifest your business goals. It's not going to help you launch your newest offering with success. So you need to jump out there and do the action steps of whatever it is that's going to help you get from where you are now to where you want to be. The next moon phase is the waxing gibbous moon, which is all about pushing through obstacles. So, you know, often as we're working towards our goals, we can kind of get stuck. There might be something that kind of stops us in our tracks and suddenly we can feel like giving up. We might feel a lot of resistance. It can just feel really hard. So when that happens, and that can often happen around the waxing gibbous moon, I encourage you to push through those obstacles or maybe figure out a different solution. This is a really good time when, you know, you're often being tested or challenged by the universe, but you have that power to step up to your full strength and push through. If you give up now, then you're not going to launch, and you're definitely not going to find that success that you're trying to manifest. So yes, things are going to be hard, but if you push through it, then that's where the magic is. So the waxing gibbous moon is really just about pushing through those obstacles, pushing through things like resistance, procrastination, so that you can actually launch and get your thing out there so people can buy it and pay you. So following the lunar launch plan, the new moon up to the full moon is all about coming up with that idea and planning it, and then getting the groundwork done, getting the action steps in place. So by the time the full moon rolls around, you should have everything in place so that you could launch. So by that, I mean you should have a sales page that clearly defines who your offer is for and how it can help them. You should have a way for people to pay you, and you should have, the details of what it is that you're actually offering. If you're kind of like pre-selling something like an online course, then you don't necessarily have to have the entire course done by the time you get to the full moon. But as long as you know what you're going to be putting in that course, then launch it at the full moon. Launching at the full moon is one of the best times for launching, because this is when we're highly energized. Other people are highly energized as well. So you're going to be, sharing what you've been working on with others, and others are going to feel your enthusiasm, and they're going to be more likely to buy from you because they're feeling those vibes. That high vibe energy of the full moon really makes it a special time for launching. So that's my recommendation. If you are following the lunar launch plan, launch it on or around the full moon. So in the lunar launch plan, you'll also find a section for jotting out your goals for your launch. So it's helpful to think of things like how much revenue you want to create from this launch, or how many people you want to sign up, or maybe just even how many people you want to reach with your launch. There's lots of different metrics that you could measure to help you define what success means for you for this launch. So have a think about that when you're coming up to the full moon section, coming up with those goals for your launch. After the full moon, the moon begins to wane. So we move through the waning gibbous phase first. And the waning gibbous is the best time for sharing and marketing your launch. When the moon is in the waning gibbous phase, we often naturally want to share what we've been working on. So that's pretty much what we're doing during the waning gibbous phase in the lunar launch plan. We're sharing what it is that we've been working on this lunar cycle so far, sharing your excitement about it, sharing with it, to everyone. So that could be like on social media, it could be through your email list, it could be talking to people in person, it could be getting on the phone, texting, messaging, whatever. However you share things, then the waning gibbous moon is the best time for sharing your launch, sharing your offerings, and getting people to jump on there and make a purchase if it feels aligned to them. Because following the lunar launch plan, I really recommend that you have like an open cart period from about the full moon to about the last quarter moon. So you really want to share the hell out of your launch and your offering during that full moon and waning gibbous phase before the cart closes at the last quarter moon. The waning gibbous phase is also a really good time for making any last minute adjustments or tweaks based on feedback that you're getting from others as you're sharing about your launch or your offering. So you might be talking to a friend about what it is that you're offering. They may have some feedback for you. They may have some feedback about your sales page or something else. So this is a really good time for going through and tweaking and adjusting and fine-tuning things to maximize your success. So then we come to the last quarter moon, and as I've just mentioned, ideally this is a good time to close the doors on your launch, because that last quarter energy is all about reviewing and analyzing how that launch has gone so that you can figure out what it is that you need to change for the future. So consider what worked well and what didn't work well. Maybe check out those analytics, check in with your goals that you set for your launch, and check in with how you went. Did you meet those goals? Maybe you exceeded those goals. So check in with those goals at the last quarter moon. And then the last quarter moon is also a really good time for decluttering and tidying up. So this could be a really good time when you're going through like your sales page. You may need to close off your sales page or take away any like time sensitive sort of information. There may be other things that you need to tidy up on your website or wherever. So declutter and tidy up from this launch and tie up any loose ends. And then the last phase in the lunar cycle and the last phase in our lunar launch plan is the waning crescent moon. And this is probably my favorite part of the lunar launch plan, because it's all about taking time off. You've just gone through like an amazing launch, you've created something and you've launched it out into the world, and you've closed the cart, and now it's time to relax and heal and recharge yourself so you can start the process all over again on the new moon cycle. So with this waning crescent energy, it's so good to actually book some time off your work. Maybe you want to do a bit of a social media detox. Maybe you want to go out for a bit of a retreat, or just go to the day spa for a few hours, or whatever it is that you need to recharge and rest and heal so that you're ready to hit the ground running again for the next lunar cycle. The waning crescent moon is also a really good time for releasing and letting go. So perhaps there were things that you identified that didn't work well during that last quarter moon phase. So during the waning crescent moon, that's a really good time to actually let those things go. You don't need to be constantly doing all the things. And if there's things that you're doing in your business that are just feeling really hard, or they're just not giving you the results, then just let it go. And, you know, if it wasn't working, then, you know, if you let it go, then that's fine. It's not really going to make a big impact on your business, apart from freeing up your time and energy to focus on the stuff that does work, all the things that do bring you joy. So I hope that the lunar launch plan was super helpful for you. Don't forget to go ahead and download the lunar launch plan workbook from the show notes below. It's so good when you have like a little guidebook to guide you through these tricky moments in life. So while you're listening to the Help a Moon Goddess podcast, I'd also love to let you know that I have opened up the doors to round 2 of the Soul Aligned Business Mastermind. Until the 7th of March 22, you can access the Soul Aligned Business Mastermind at a really affordable payment plan, which is spaced out over 12 months, so you can take your time to pay it off. From the 7th of March, that payment plan will go away. So if you are really interested in working with me to launch or grow your business in 2022, and your finances are a bit tight, I highly encourage you to jump onto this early bird payment plan so that we can work together, because I would love to help you grow your business and manifest your business goals with a blend of this like intuitive astrological guidance plus some practical business strategy. I'm going to be teaching you everything I have learnt from the past 10 plus years in business, including marketing, finding your ideal clients, niching, growing an email list, refining your offerings, and so much more. There is just so much goodness packed inside the Soul Aligned Business Mastermind, and I'm really excited to share that with you. You can sign up in the link below in the show notes section, And yeah, I'd love to see you in the Business Mastermind. If you really resonated with today's episode, yeah, you can expect a lot more of this sort of stuff in the Soul Aligned Business Mastermind, because it's all about that blending of like the astrology with the practical business stuff. So make sure you jump on that if you are really interested in working with me to grow your business this year. So if you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you would give me a like, subscribe, follow, or whatever other buttons are available wherever you're listening to this podcast. Every little like, share, follow helps. So I'd love your support. And thanks so much for tuning in. I will catch you in the next episode of the Herbal Moon Goddess podcast. Bye for now.